All right, everybody, here we are. Week 2 matchup previews for our league here. As I went over in the recap, basically Steve's an idiot, and I don't know why people keep trading with him because he doesn't have anything of value. But moving forward onto the matchups, we got the toilet bowl matchup of this week between two teams that seem to be on a golden douche collision course. We have Pack Attack, who is rolling his eyes at me right now as we speak, against John's great team. All right, John, we got to come up with a team name for you that is something a little less generic. You know, it could be about how bad your team is, what a horrible fantasy football manager you are. It could be, I'm just spitballing here, about how Ezekiel Elliott looks eerily similar to Trent Richardson. These are all viable options. So think about what you want to do and come up with a team name for the love of God. And stop offering me Justin Forsett. Thank you. All right. So this matchup is about as putrid as it gets. You got Eli Manning, though, at home against the Saints. The last time he played against them, he threw 6 touchdown passes. He's going to eat against the Saints. They're without Delvin Breaux, their top corner. They're going to have a hard time shutting down Odell, Sterling Shepard, and Victor Cruz. So I like Eli to go off. Don't necessarily love the matchup for Aaron Rodgers at Minnesota, but I will say Xavier Rhodes is out for the Vikings, which means somebody's going to have to guard Jordy Nelson, and I don't know who that's going to be, but that should open up some opportunities for the other Packers receivers. The running back matchup, I mean, I hate to say this, but probably LeGarrette Blount is probably the best play of all 4 running backs involved this week. Spencer Ware at Houston, not a huge fan of that. Ezekiel Elliott, as I mentioned, eerily similar to Trent Richardson. I mean, they could it's ugly. It's really ugly, and you got to start to maybe panic just a little bit if you're an Ezekiel Elliott owner. So, John, great job passing on all the surefire, awesome players in the first round to select Ezekiel Elliott all the way up at pick number 3. We got your. I think this game is going to come down to if Blount can score 2 touchdowns, Pack Attack's going to win. I think there's a good chance that happens, so I'm going to go ahead and forecast that Pack Attack gets the W this week over John's great team. The good news is one of you gets to win, so that's not going to be a common occurrence throughout the course of the season. So good luck with that. So matchup number 2, we have Jared, which is That Didn't Work, versus Neil before Zod. It's an interesting matchup as far as these two teams go. Steve's got some decent matchups this week. It's going to be tough for Jared to compete. I gotta say though, I honestly think Bortles is a huge regression candidate. Everybody thought that except for Steve, apparently. Steve always knows something that everybody else in the world doesn't know. Of course, you all know that. Like Matt Forte, Thursday night, horrible play at Buffalo. I predict he doesn't do much of anything. But he'll probably get bailed out by David Johnson, who's really his main source of points. David Johnson is going to be a problem all season long. I suspect that gets canceled out by A.J. Green at Pittsburgh, though. So that being said, it looks like a pretty slam dunk that Steve's going to win this one. Sorry, Jared. I mean, your team's just not very pretty, especially without Lamar Miller, who is now, of course, with the good guys. So Lamar Miller's going to be an animal all season long, and you're going to really regret that. So that being said, moving on to the next matchup. I mean, what can I say here about Jason's team? I mean, it is ugly. It is dime store hooker ugly. Todd Gurley, man, talk about 2 horrible picks early in the draft. Todd Gurley and Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know which one of you made a worse pick. I guess I'd have to go with Gurley because you passed on Antonio Brown. At least Antonio Brown wasn't on the board when John selected Elliott. So we're going to come up with something for that. I'm not going to let that go. I'll probably bring it up every matchup for the rest of the season. Gurley's not going to get it going this week against Seattle, who's a much tougher D than a defense that shut him down last week in San Francisco. So I suspect Gurley has a rough week, and as Todd Gurley goes, it's going to be as Jason goes. I don't expect Breeze to throw another 7 touchdowns against the Giants. That being said, he's probably getting 3 to 5. So he's going to have a huge game. He always does. The Giants, sorry, Chris, but the truth is they're a paper mache defense. They offer little to no resistance whatsoever. That game's going to be another shootout just like it was last year. I'm not expecting 13 touchdown passes again, but I do suspect 13 touchdowns will get scored. My brother, Carson Palmer, Julio Jones, both in for big weeks. I think Shady McCoy continues his descent into RB2 territory against a tough Jets front. But again, he could really be bailed out by Steve gifting him D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo Williams at home against the Bengals. Love the matchup. I think they're going to feed him the rock. And I'm going to say the difference in this game comes down to the defenses. Tony's got Carolina at home against Blaine Gabbert. And Jason's still rolling Jacksonville at Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. Jason, the Jags D's a few years off still, dude. You got to fix that up. So that being said, Cheesehead gets the win and naming rights to Jason's team. Very important. That is very important. So I've got some ideas for you, Tony. So give me a call after you win this matchup because I've got some great ideas. Next matchup, we have Suicide Squad versus Valor Morgulis. Cameron versus Chris. So Chris's season is really starting out rough. Having Keenan Allen and Phillip Rivers, it's a dangerous proposition because how injury-prone Allen's been, and now Allen's out for the year, and Rivers takes a serious dump in value. That being said, at home against Jacksonville, he's still going to eat. He's still Phillip Rivers. He's still a good quarterback, and he's still going to do well more times than not. He's not going to come anywhere close to what nuclear Cam Newton is going to do this week. Cam Newton is angry. He wants to avenge the Broncos' loss, and he wants to prove a point in a home opener against the Niners, who I suspect are going to be one of the worst teams in football all season long. So Cameron having Cam Newton and Antonio Brown on the same team is scary to me. So there's going to be some weeks where those two by themselves win the matchup for him, and this is going to be one of those weeks. We don't really need to spend a whole lot of time on this matchup. It's lopsided. Chris is going to get slaughtered, as he's probably going to get slaughtered in most of the weeks he plays. This is what happens when you step up to the big boys league, Mancusi. You know, you've been playing against those AT&T jabronis that don't know what they're doing. You step into a league with a bunch of guys that know what they're doing, and this is what happens. So I suspect Chris is going to be at or near the bottom all season long. He's a serious contender, a real threat to pack attack and John's great team for the Golden Douche. So we'll see how that plays out. Final matchup. As you can see, I wrote on the board that Hobbits suck. And that's because Joe is pretty much Frodo from the Shire, and this week he's going to get his ass kicked all the way back to the Shire. It's going to be ugly. I think Yahoo has him way over projected, as they usually do. Adrian Peterson looks old. I don't think they're going to have much of a passing attack, and I suspect the Packers are going to load up the box, and they're going to shut Adrian Peterson down. How in the world they project C.J. Anderson at home against the Colts to score less than Mark Ingram at the Giants or Peterson against the Packers is beyond me. That's absolutely silly. I think Joe's got some decent matchups. But I mean, let's be real here. Denver at home against the Colts, their D. Against my quarterback, Andrew Luck. Yeah, it's not a great matchup, but Andrew Luck's getting 2 touchdowns. He's going to. So if he gets 2 touchdowns, you're talking about 9 points off of the defensive score and 12 points just in the touchdowns. That's a 21-point swing. So not a huge fan of the strategy of playing a defense against my team's opposing quarterback, unless that quarterback is a guy on Steve's team, because his quarterback situation is god-awful. That being said, I'm going to take this one easily. I have some decisions still to make about Woodhead maybe being in my flex or Fleener being at tight end, but honestly, it doesn't matter because Hobbits suck. And Joe, you're not going to be competitive in this league until you get a smartphone. I mean, for God's sake, Joe's rolling around with a jitterbug. Have you seen the size of that phone? It's a brick. It's out of control. Smartphones aren't just for smart people anymore, Joe. You can go get yourself one. So, Jason, if you're listening in on this, give Joe a call, hook him up with a phone. That being said, that's all I got for you guys this week. Look forward to doing the recap after my victorious week once again. So catch you guys later.